Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 15 of the Recce Report with your usual co-host. So I'm Russ, former British Army Warrant Officer.
And I am Cliff, a former British Army Corporal. Welcome, guys. 15th show. Have we been doing this for 15 months?
I know, man. I can't believe they let us do this.
I know.
It's quite spooky, isn't it? That they allow us unfiltered on the air. I'm trying really hard not to swear. I just don't get away with it.
I had one. Yes, I had one of those shows yesterday when I was on with Norrie Hunter on Caledon Radio. There, I was biting dynamite.
Got to get the plug in for Caledon Radio there, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Tune in.
Yeah.
What day and what time are you on, Cliff, on Caledon Radio?
We're going to be starting again every Sunday from midday. Hopefully, it's going to be a live show. Hopefully, as opposed to pre-recorded, which I was doing most of last year. So we'll see how that one goes.
Excellent. And if anyone's interested, pop into the Veterans for Scottish Independence Facebook page, and Cliff will drop the link in there for you.
Right. So once again, we're at the turn of the month, so we get to sit in front of the camera and the mic and discuss what has been going on in the last month. I believe Russ, you were wanting to start off with the subject.
I did. It's just something I wanted to raise, and I'm not going to name any names particularly or point any fingers, but point out that we as a group, Veterans for Scottish Independence, and me and Cliff specifically, we are more than happy to engage and work with other like-minded people that support Scottish independence. Having said that, that doesn't mean that we have to agree with policies and standards of those other people. We will criticise when criticism is appropriate, whether that be the SNP, ALBA, or any other groups out there. And what's made me raise this, and it was, and I'm sorry to put you in the spot here, Cliff was yesterday was accused of being an undercover Yoon because he had the audacity to criticise an approach from one of the other independence supporting groups. Now I laugh about it, but the truth is, he was labelled a Yoon, but the statement was also made that because he will always be a British soldier, so will always support the state. Now, one, that's not true. Two, you better hope that's not true, because for an independent Scotland, we're going to need the support of the old armed forces boys and girls that are going to come through. Now, yeah, we're not going to agree with everyone. I mean, it springs to mind is that idiot that used to be in the Scottish Resistance that was constantly getting in people's faces. Now, am I supposed to support all he does just because he's in favour of Scottish independence? Well, no, of course not. Yeah. So yeah, we will happily engage in conversation, but if we don't agree with you, that doesn't make us undercover unionists or fifth columnists or 77 Brigade or whatever it is.
Well, they've actually got the wrong purvis on that one. It was my dad. That was 77 Brigade during the Second World War. He was a chindit.
Yeah. Chinchilla.
Oh yes, my undercover chinchilla. I put up this morning. It's one of these cheap shots that get made at us, and the trouble is, we get, it's going to happen. And I always think, well, maybe these people don't have a sound base for argument. They go.
And we give them a platform, mate. As I recall, you gave them an invite to tune in tonight. Yes. To drop any questions, anyone that's watching. If you're on YouTube or on the Facebook pages, if you drop a comment below this video, we will get it almost immediately, and we almost always respond, unless it's we can say unless it's idiotic. We will reply to idiotic posts unless it's abusive and not suitable for transmission. But yeah, feel free, drop your comments below if you want to ask me, Cliff, any questions or make any comment about what's going on here tonight.
Right, so moving on to politics.
What?
Yeah, imagine us having an opinion about the current state of politics. what's been catching my eye lately is the Tory boy, Keir Starmer.
Yeah, what's he been up to?
Backpedaling with great gusto. I think he swept into power. He swept into deposing Jeremy Corbyn, who I didn't get on with as a political, as someone politically. I strongly disagree with some of his things, but at least you knew where he stood.
Yeah.
And there is nothing wrong in that. So yes, Keir Starmer has been backpedaling on. I think he made 10 promises to get himself elected as Labour leader, and he has reneged on all of them. Apparently, when he sweeps into power after the next general election, he will not be increasing the funding to the NHS. And as me and you have mentioned before, when south of the border are talking about the NHS, they mean the NHS in England.
Yeah.
Because there is 4 quite separate NHS establishments to the 4 home countries. So he will not be increasing any funding to the NHS England. And considering the junior doctors up here in Scotland have just accepted a pay award, so the strike action has been averted. So our people that are needing to be seen will be seen, and it just goes to show what can happen with dialogue. It just goes to show that if you sit down, instead of doing what Sunak is doing, which is no, there's nothing, and then that's been echoed by Starmer. No, there's no more cash. They always seem to find cash, for their needs, like painting the Union flag on an aircraft.
Oh yeah, I've yet to hear one politician stand up and say, "I'm sorry, we cannot afford to go to do this war, or this military action, this little foreign jaunt in the desert, or whichever little country we want to blast at that point." There's never a funding crisis when that happens, is there? They always find some money down the back of the sofa for that.
Yes, and they usually supply us with the last war's equipment.
Yeah.
Which is always the trait of the British. I mean, I was reading a report there over the weekend that all 3 services are so under recruiting. It's unbelievable. And the Navy tops the lot at 22%, 14% for the Army, and 16% for the Royal Air Force.
On demand, that's the deficit,
add that to the shiny items have always been kept, the nuclear deterrent, the aircraft carriers, the attack helicopters, that type of thing. So the shop window looks absolutely fantastic, but it's all been hollowed out behind it. There is no infrastructure. There was, I think it was one of the chief of staffs was saying on a defence review that we need to get the dry docks fixed. We need to get the cranes fixed. Otherwise, the ships are going nowhere. Type of thing. And that's this current state of UK Armed Forces. It's going to take between 5 and 10 years of serious money being put into the Army. Never mind the Royal Navy and the RAF. It's going to take up to 10 years to get the Army up into a situation where they could field a divisional strength unit, which we would need if we were going to be up against some serious opposition. They've just hollowed out the defence. But we're supposed to still sort of sit in our hands and think, isn't Westminster a wonderful thing?
Well, Tories are firm supporters of our brave boys and girls in the armed forces, aren't they? They like to wave the flag. They like to sit on tanks and get their photos taken. But the truth is, the army doesn't make money. It's a photo op for them. So a CGI generated image of a tank works just as well as a real one when it comes to the photo ops. But it's the people on the ground, mate. It's the men and women that actually have to go and do these foreign adventures that bear the brunt of that.
That's why I never ever decry the boys and girls on the ground there. because we've both been in those situations, Russ. So yeah, it is very much our political masters, lagging and again, I'm biting my tongue here, lagging and supplying us with the right kit. We had a term certainly in my time in uniform. It'll be issued in theatre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh grief! Why can't we get it issued beforehand? Yeah. But anyway, that's my little piece of ranting almost over for tonight.
No, you're absolutely right, mate. It's shameful, we talk about the Tories and their big thing is the flag, the British forces, and of course their other big thing, isn't it, is law and order, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the other thing the Tories crow about. It's about law and order, but it's not. It's not. And that brings us on quite neatly, I think, to what's been in the news recently, was the fact that there's rumours afoot that Westminster are going to block the Scottish government's attempts to decriminalise simple drug possession.
Yeah, and again, this is just whatever administration is sitting in Downing Street. Starmer's not going to make a blind bit of difference.
Yeah.
Whatever administration's sitting in Downing Street, they're just going to go after the headline news. Look, we've arrested X amount of people. We've sent them to jail. But at the same time, they're attacking the Scottish government because of our high drug addiction problems.
Well, the worry is, as you and I both know, mate, drug policy is reserved to Westminster. And what they mean by drug policy is, what constitutes Class A, Class B, and Class C. Now, the truth is, Scotland's always had a separate legal setup, legal position. So there's nothing to stop Scotland passing a law, because I believe they can still do that, to say, right, or sentencing guidelines or police guidelines to say simple possession no longer warrants prosecution. It would still be illegal, but you just choose not to transfer it. Dealing, intent to supply, that would still be an issue. And what's driving our coach and horses through the devolution setup, mate? Because there was things that devolved issues were untouchable by Westminster. What's driving our coach and horses through that is the single market bill. Is them saying that we have to have common structures across the UK when we never had to before, because Scotland had a distinct and separate legal and health and all that sort of stuff was all there, and it's eroding away. And we mentioned this before, mate. If you're happy with Westminster overriding the Scottish government because it's something you particularly agree with, then you have to accept that they're going to do that with things that you don't agree with. Yeah, and you let that happen.
Yeah, you cannot pick and choose as far as the that was it the Section 35, is it they call it?
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, we have got at this moment in time, we have got a completely different drink drive limit in Scotland.
Yeah. We have. I'm just going to point out that Evelyn just made a really good point there, that drugs reporting is different from Scotland and England. So in Scotland, any death that involves drugs is reported as a drugs death.
Yeah.
So it could be somebody crashing their car whilst high. That'd be classed as a drugs death. Committing suicide by overdose would be a drugs death. So we're not all talking about overdoses and accidental deaths. Any death that involves drugs is classed as a drugs death. Whereas in England, it's very, very more narrow reporting.
Yeah.
Very specific. So on paper, it looks like we have more.
Yes, it's exactly the same as what was going on with the COVID deaths, because it's the way that our people get the figures reported. I take it you're taking all these messages, Russ, because it's.
I am, mate. Yeah, I am, and you can read them and respond to them if you want. There's a really nice one there from Helen saying, "Find it unbelievable. The veterans have spent most of their lives defending us, yet some Scots still want to be in this so-called union. and hats off to your dad, Helen. I think that's impressive.
Yes,
and that's the truth. And the thing is, I think someone said, what was it, Cliff? You were accused of defending your pension. It was. There's people serving the British Army that are not from Britain.
Yeah,
they get a pension.
Absolutely, the pension is not dependent on where your passport says you're from. All that happens is you don't get the increments, I believe.
Yeah. I think it depends. Well, it depends where you live.
Yeah.
If you're paying tax in the UK, you still get it. But yeah. I know. I think Tina in the chat there's saying prescribed drugs are in the drugs death figures.
Well,
So that whereas they're not, I don't think they are in England.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be like everything else that's south of the border. The figures are heavily massaged.
Yeah.
To deliberately play down the state of play.
Well, it was. I mean, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, Murdo Fraser tweeted, imagine declining drugs instead of spending money on prevention and treatment. Like no one said instead of, mate, did they?
No.
You can do both.
But Murdo Fraser is the clown that keeps giving. And I use the word clown in its true sense, a really frightening thing. Yeah.
He's the post hedgehog, isn't he? No one knows how he got there. He doesn't know how to get down, and he does absolutely nothing while he's up there.
Sorry, Russ. It's been a long day. I just clocked on. I'm normally a bit quicker than that. Yes, absolutely. Hedgehog sitting on top of the post. Yeah. Is it? Yes. Don't be cruel to animals, folks. Right. Yes. So now we've also had some hypocrisy creeping in from the BBC.
Yes. You may be all aware we're not gonna delve too deeply into it because obviously it's not an investigation. But the headlines about the BBC personality has apparently been offering money for risky pictures of a 17-year-old. And you said the hypocrisy of the BBC, mate, because what did they do?
Yeah. Well, they hired a helicopter. They were flying over Cliff Richard's house in 2014.
The best one, mate. The best one was the Sun. Proclaiming how ungentlemanly, how horrific, how sordid this was. That someone, a middle-aged guy, whatever, should be paying a 17-year-old for dodgy pictures. This is the Murdoch Sun that paid Sam Fox £150 a week, age 16, to get her bits out on page 3.
Yeah.
And you're like, how? Are we supposed to forget these things?
Well, we are. They hope we do. And this is why they feed us a royal baby or a royal wedding or a coronation every so often, to keep us happy. And then we forget all about that stuff.
The other thing the Sun did, which is even worse, mate, remember they had the countdown clock for Charlotte Church?
I might have been out the country then.
15-year-old Charlotte Church.
All right.
Days until she turned 16 and they could start being all smutty about her.
Oh, dear. That
was the Sun.
All right. I must admit, it's been more years than I care to remember since I actually physically bought a Sun newspaper.
Well, I don't know how old Charlotte Church is now, but in my head, she's still like early 20s.
Right. All right. Yes, Evelyn has come up with another good point there. The Beeb was camped outside Nicola's house before the police arrived. Where was her privacy? Exactly. And where was her husband's privacy? And the wee ginger dog has mentioned this in his blog today, that all the Tory MPs that have been up on charges and nothing's been said in the papers about it. In fact, the BBC have cancelled a panorama.
That's easy for you to say.
Yes, a panorama. Oh, you know what I mean. Investigation into the conduct of the Tory MPs. I think it was a sexual assault allegation that they've cancelled the investigation. And that's got nothing to do, of course, with the governing board being in the pockets of the Tory party.
Yeah. And there's another Tory. There's by-elections, isn't there, for some Tory that's just lost a bit for inappropriate behaviour, isn't there?
I've lost count of when their by-elections are happening. I mean, when we had all that run of resignations around the Johnson exposure.
I want to say Chris Pincher because the name just makes me think that it should be him. But if it's not, I apologise. It's I'm sorry you've got such a 70s innuendo type name, mate. But yeah.
Yeah. Where are we? I've lost the running order. Here we go. Right. There we are. So, so we've got this complete hypocrisy coming from the Labour Party. And of course, we've got the drone in charge of the branch office for Labour up here in Scotland, turning around saying that the decriminalisation wouldn't be his first idea. Everything else needs to be investigated first. And you're sitting there thinking, no, let's get the boys and girls off the streets. Let's get them into safe areas. Let's make sure that they're not, having to reuse needles, having to reuse syringes.
And it works. Other countries have done it. And it works. And there's no reason why it couldn't work. And I don't see why. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd be all for the Tories going, you know what? If this works, we're for it. If it doesn't work, then we'll come down on you like a ton of bricks. But hey, let's it's the whole thing. It's like that won't work. Well, we've not tried it yet. We've not tried it yet. It was the whole better together Project Fair thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It'll never work. Well, name me one independent country that's ever chosen to then become non-independent.
It's classic. We were sold the lie, and unfortunately, enough people bought the lie. Bite my lip again. Yes. So what we on? Yes, the mentioned recruitment was down. Yeah. With the military. Yeah, and how underfunded the services have been. Anything else catch your eye in the last month, Russ?
I think just generally the god awful state of politics, mate. And I would love to have seen a new style coming from the SNP with Hamza Yusuf coming in and using that as a chance. But I'm sorry to say that it just seems that we're back to business as usual. Having said that, if he follows through on his plan that the next election becomes a de facto independence referendum, because I think that's what they were saying, wasn't it?
Yep.
That will be on the paper, which it should have been. It always bloody should have been.
Yep.
You vote on a majority of SNP MPs, it should be. If we can get behind that, and I think that would be good. So we'll see how the campaign picks up. But when it does come, then we need to get behind it, because at the moment, as much as people may like or dislike it, at the moment the SNP is the only political party that is a vehicle toward independence. Now, before you all write in and hang me for that, right? If another political party starts to make headway in the polls and gets the seats, we'll get behind them. We absolutely will. But as it stands currently today, at this moment in time, politically, the SNP are the only viable option. Whether they'll do it or not is another matter, and that's a whole separate argument to have.
Yeah, we definitely we're due the general election no later than January 25, I believe. Probably it'll be held October 24. That tends to be the normal time for them doing it. Why do they hold it in October? Because it's lousy weather. They don't want the plebs out voting.
Well, don't be surprised, mate, because they got rid of the Fixed Term Parliaments Act in Westminster, didn't they? So don't be surprised, because the next Westminster election is 2025, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if they call a general election in 2024 tail end.
Oh, yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. The earliest I think will be
Yeah.
October.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant the Holyrood election.
No. I think they'll call it October 2024. And I'm absolutely of the opinion that we need to invoke that spirit of 2015, that general election we had then, where we just swept aside the unionist parties because we all seen the lie that happened the year before for the independence referendum. And you are correct, Russ, that at this moment in time, the only political party in Scotland that can give us the vehicle to get us there is the Scottish National Party. And you're quite correct in highlighting that, if another one has managed to gain traction, gets itself organised, pushes forward, then obviously, we take that as it comes. So please, guys, we are approaching a very, very critical time for Scotland. We cannot afford this union any longer. It's gone the way of all other empires. The dying days of any empire is never a good thing, and I think we are actually seeing the death throes from Westminster. There is not one unionist member of Parliament down there that would have made the cut for being an MP about 30, 40 years ago. That's how far it's fallen off.
And that is, and that's why they keep pushing us off, and now is not the time, because they hope that the SNP do what the unionist parties do. They get in, they get their nose in the trough for a few years. Tories now 13 years. Then people get sick of them. They vote the next lot in. Pattern repeats. They get sick of them. Vote the next lot in. So they believe it's only a matter of time before the SNP kind of implode. And as Helen just pointed out, there's something like 44 Tory MPs and 13 Labour MPs standing in that next election. Is that being reported? No, they're all over the handful of SNP MPs that have said they're not coming back. Yeah,
as always. And I believe BBC Scotland devoted something in the region of 2 minutes, to the BBC scandal at the weekend there, and then devoted about 6 to 8 minutes about the supposed implosion of the SNP with their MPs standing down. But I think Vary Black came out with a wonderful statement in her release letter that said, she wasn't pulling any punches in that, and highlighting just what a toxic environment that is. And me and you have worked in toxic environments, and I certainly wouldn't want to do that for any length of time.
Yeah, no, you're right. And they're going to try it. And Evelyn's mentioned there about voter IDs thing that's coming in. Which is that's what I'm saying. Yes. Which is a solution to a problem that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And what it does is it disenfranchises people that don't have ready access to the documents to get a voter ID. Not everyone. I said that my wife, for example, because due to the whole pandemic and stuff, she doesn't have an in-date passport now.
Right.
She doesn't have a driving license expired as well. So she's buggered. She doesn't exist. She's a non-person in the eyes of the Tories. But we'll see.
The Reich Minister for Home Development will have her on a plane to Rwanda.
Don't. Definitely, I've never met this woman before in my life, mate. You try to get me shot, Cliff, aren't you? No worries.
Right, buddy. Have you seen the countdown?
We are. Unfortunately, folks, we're coming to the end of our allotted time on this illustrious platform. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all your questions and all your comments. They're always much appreciated. I've enjoyed it so much. I think we should do this again in about on the second Monday of next month, mate. What do you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just echo you. It's been a huge pleasure, as always, doing these shows with Russ. The time flies in.
It does,
And
mate,
yes,
it does.
yeah, absolutely. Remember, folks, let's keep chipping away because our future is very, very bright. You know, our independence is right.
Well said, Cliff. Take care, everyone. See you next time.
Catch you later.